So this is kind of a throwback, actually. I think this was my first, maybe my second video I put on YouTube for Long Shot Books. Was about this dude, Gabino Iglesias. I believe you say his name. I'm sorry if I said that wrong. And he had a stupid video, 8 kinds of writers on to throw down a well. And it was incredibly immature and juvenile and not funny or provocative in any way. And I made fun of it. And actually, what was fascinating was, because there went, I don't know, it's viral-ish. And what was fascinating was these writers who were contacting me saying, not many, I'm not saying like hundreds or even dozens, but I got a few messages from people saying, hey man, thanks for putting that out. I can't speak out against this guy. I can't talk about his article because if I do, I'll lose my publishing deal. And I won't be able to work or live anymore. So the same man, and that is an anecdotal evidence. If you want to take that with a grain of salt, please do. I'm not saying to take my word at face value. That is the opposite of my point of this video and many of the others I talk about with logic, is not just saying, oh, well, you said this, therefore it must be true. Challenge what I'm saying. Awesome. Doubt me, please. His latest article that I saw some people sharing is called "Cancel Culture is Ruining Publishing!" Exclamation point. So I was kind of intrigued. And I already saw like people sharing, it was like, it's like middle school. These writers are like children. They share like, teehee, spoiler alert, it's not. Ooh. And it's so embarrassing. These fuckers make a living off their writing, and they're just shooting spitballs, which I'm pretty immature too, and I don't make a living off my writing, so it's all fair. We're all equals here. But his first sentence is, ha, that's not true. I was just messing with you. The funny thing about this is, of course he was. Did anybody think Gabino Iglesias was going to publish a thing saying cancel culture is ruining writing? No, because he has no balls. And he's the same kind of deal as Bill Maher, where he says the same things as everybody else. Bill Maher's really no different than the average CNN reporter. He doesn't like Muslims as much, but the only difference is that he peppers in what he says with occasional vulgarity. That's really it. And Gabino Iglesias is exactly the same way. He says all the same bullshit that everybody else is saying. Some of it is true. I'm not disagreeing with everything he's saying in this article. I agree with a lot of things he does and says. I followed him on Twitter for a while before he just got too boring. And he doesn't do, he's not evil, mostly. he doesn't do all bad things. He's done a lot of good as well as things I do disagree with. And I am poking fun, but it's not totally a personal attack on him in the same way that he personally attacks other people. But what I'm getting at is he says the same bullshit everybody else spouts, but he puts some more swears in it, so people are sharing, like, he's talking that real. Let's see him come up against this one. He said fuck 3 times. And basically he does what I do. He says the same shit everybody else says, but more vulgar. So we're one and the same on that one. So that's the beginning of the article. That's our setup here. And then he gets into it. Sadly, there are folks out here saying that garbage without meaning it as a joke. Okay. So that's a valid setup for an argument. You're saying, cancel culture is ruining publishing, and you're like, no, it was clickbait. I got you. Now listen to what I have to say. I've got your attention. Cool. You got me. I have nuanced thought, which a lot of people lack, as this article is going to prove. So I see the benefits and the pros and cons of it. Like you say, Harvey Weinstein, who has just had his death grip on film and was doing horrible, atrocious things. Yeah, cancel that guy. Get him out of there. Dan Schneider, get him out of Nickelodeon. Get him away from children. Let's say on a smaller level, there is a book publishing con, and there's a guy who maybe drugged a girl there or took advantage of her or did some horrible, unspeakable things. And writers come out and say this, and they say, please don't invite him, don't go near him. He is a predator. Yes, cancel that guy. I get that. The thing with cancel culture is, and this is my personal disagreement with it, I've already been canceled. I don't give a fuck. You can't really cancel somebody who doesn't quit. You just stop paying attention to them and supporting them. And that's fair. You have every right to. I totally understand, and I do the same thing. If somebody does something that I disagree with to a certain extent, I don't follow them. I don't support them. I don't give them money or attention. You have every right to. That's the free market. That's the beauty of the free market. Whether you agree with it or disagree with it, I have nuanced thoughts on that as well. Some positive, some negative. That is one of the great things about it, is the choice of the consumer. So he sets it up. Let's hear his point. There are writers who think the reason they're not getting published is because they're not a person of color or a member of the LGBTQIA plus community. That's not the article that you said you were going to be writing. So let's continue. The idea that social justice warriors have become the gatekeepers of the publishing world and have made it increasingly difficult for straight white men to get published is a thought I've encountered in an inordinate amount of times, especially considering how fucking ridiculous it is. That's the first paragraph. The first full paragraph, I should say. That's not cancel culture. That's not what you said you were going to be writing about. So the first clickbait, why this is ruining publishing, no, here's why it's good. Okay, cool. That's good clickbait. That's fun. That's exciting. And you kind of pull the rug out from our people. Awesome. The next thing, why people are mad about diversity. Why did you do that? Why did you change the topic of your article? And I couldn't believe it as I was reading, because he just goes further and further into this diversity thing. He doesn't talk about cancel culture at all, really. He talks about diversity and why it's a good thing, and there's positive change in publishing, and it's becoming more diverse, and people who oppose it are bad or racist or whatever you want to call it, xenophobic, homophobic, etc. Okay, so that's an article. That's an article I would read. You can have valid points on that. That's not the article that you advertised. That's not the title. That's not cancel culture. Cancel culture is, hey, don't publish this person's book. Hey, don't give this person a platform, essentially, because they did a bad thing, because they are a bad person. We need to cancel Milo Yiannopoulos because he said some things about underage sexual relationships. We need to cancel, I don't even know people have been canceled. I only know the big news topics because I don't follow the news. I don't know. We need to cancel Donald Trump because he is saying things that provoke and promote racism. That kind of deal. Okay, that's cancel culture. It's a one. Bryan Singer worked on the X-Men. He's actually a really good director, unfortunately. He's a creep. Cancel him. He has these weird parties with young boys. That's canceling somebody. Saying, hey, we're not going to publish your book, and then publishing somebody else of another minority. That's not cancel culture. That's not even relevant. And I'm going to get into what I truly think he's doing this for. Actually, I'll do it right now. He's not doing it. It was not a mistake. I thought at first, oh, well, that's just stupid. And I thought of rewriting the article for him to show the positive things of cancel culture. And I disagree with some parts of it. I don't think that it's good to say you did this bad thing. Therefore, you'll never get better. We don't want you to improve. We don't want you. You're out of the community. I think that's stupid. I think growth and forgiveness and change should be promoted. Now, not like assault or something horrible or sexual violence. I'm not saying that. What was it? Gaslighting, that kind of thing. I'm not saying you should just be like, oh yeah, you're better now. I get that. I totally get that with safety. But I don't know if somebody, let's say they voted for George Bush and they admitted it and they're like, hey, I voted for Bush. I wish I didn't, blah, blah, blah. And people are like, you did this. You did these horrible things. You're done. And the person's like, no, I don't think that anymore. I don't know. I'm just coming up with stuff on the top of my head. But that's my issue with cancel culture is I think you should want people to get better. You should help them improve. Not just say, we're fucking done with you. Get out of here. But that's just my silly moralizing. So he continues, let me break things down for you. Don't worry. I won't fill your head with numbers. Don't worry. We're not going to give you facts here. Why would you want that? I'm just going to paint everybody who disagrees with me as racist. And also, I understand that's what he's doing here. He is talking about cancel culture because by associating cancel culture with diversity, he's trying to say anybody against it is therefore racist. And it's actually clever what he's doing here because he's denying the presence of gatekeepers in publishing, which they exist. I mean, if you want me to get McCarthy, I'll drop some fucking names. I'm not really afraid to. I've encountered them. Marines encounter them. We've gotten messages. Hey, don't work with this person. They're that way. Pass it on. We've been the subject of those messages. There are gatekeepers, even on our tiny, tiny, tiny level. I mean, the level Longshot Books has an outreach. It's like 0.00001%. None. And we've still dealt with this. So you cannot tell me. Well, I actually hope he's right. I hope that on Gabino's level that doesn't exist. I hope he's right. That would be awesome. So he goes on to say that he is, as a book reviewer, he belongs to the 3% of book reviewers who are Latino, Latinx / Mexican. 3%. Sigh. Moving on. Wait. Hold up. Let's not move on. That's a number, and that's valid. Okay, thank you. And I want to say this now. If he wrote an article, and he probably has, on diversity in publishing, on the stats of who publishes where, and he gets into this, I'll get into this as well, I would read that article. I'm not speaking out against diversity or what he's saying. I agree with a lot of what he's saying here. But the way he's doing it is malicious and dishonest and nasty and slimy. And that is my issue. His rhetoric is, I almost said evil. I don't want to say evil, but it's not cool. I'm not cool with it. So he's one of 3% of reviewers who are Latino, Latinx, and Mexican. Why aren't there more? So I did some research here. I looked up just demographic statistics, and I'm going to fill your head with numbers right now. And I'm just going to read. This is very lazy. I did a Wikipedia, basic Googling, look it up. These are not cemented numbers. Once again, take this with a grain of salt. Doubt me. Do your own research. Think for yourself, please. So, the first thing I want to point out is a survey at 34 book publishers and 8 review journals in the United States reveals 79% of staff are white and 78% female, with UK numbers still unmonitored. That was an article by The Guardian, I believe. Yes, and that was published 3 years ago, it says. So it's changed since then. I don't know the numbers. Once again, this is just an example I'm pulling from. This was not a research project that I've been working on. I just came through this together. So that's the first bit of information I have there. That's overwhelmingly white. Totally. It's overwhelmingly female, which kind of breaks the narrative. You're supposed to say it's all men, but, awesome. Good news. Women are dominating in a field. That's something to be excited about, I think. And I'm not saying with a grain of doubt or anything. I think it's cool that women are doing publishing. I don't give a fuck. I wish it was 99%. I was a 1%. I'd rather be the only guy. That's a joke. So, Wikipedia states, I'm just going to rattle this off here because it's boring. The white, non-Hispanic, or Latino population make up 61.3% of the nation's total, with the total white population, including white Hispanics and Latinos, being 76.9%. So what we have here is, and this is including Hispanics and Latinos, which is, I don't understand that totally. I'm not a sociologist. I don't know why they're included with white or when they're differentiated. I guess it's because of ethnic versus racial differences. I don't know. So that's 76.9%, a huge majority. So is that 79% of staff that are white factoring in? Is it overrepresented? Yes. This is where you get into, and this is the same with Gabino's numbers here. You get into methodology of studies. How is it conducted? All that. Now, I'm not disagreeing with them. I think most people publishing are probably white. I think most people publishing are probably straight. Overrepresented. Not arguing there. But I'm just breaking down the numbers for the nerds. So, the African Americans, which are considered the largest racial minority, are 12.7% of the population. This is in America. So we got 76.9 white, including white Hispanics and Latinos, 12.7% African Americans. Hispanic and Latino Americans, the largest ethnic minority, is 17.8%. 17.8%. So that's racial demographics. And this is the LGBT stuff and all which he gets into. A 2017 Gallup poll concluded that 4.5% of adult Americans identified as LGBT, with 5% of women identifying as LGBT, compared with 3.9% of men. A different survey in 2016 from the Williams Institute estimated that 0.6% of U.S. adults identify as transgender. Methodology, I don't know. It's 2019 now, almost 2020. I'm sure, positive, those numbers have increased. Just the example that I pulled up lazily. And what I'm getting here is these numbers that he provides after this 3% that are Latino, Latinx, and Mexican, which they are underrepresented according to his numbers. I agree. 3% does not constitute 17.8. So, I mean, I'm not good at math, but let's see, that'd be like there should be like 6 times more. I'm on board, Gabino. I'm with you here. So let's go down to the further numbers that he gets, which is a study done. I was going to give him shit for not quoting or not citing his numbers. He does. Once again, good point. A study done by the Cooperative Children's Book Center at the School of Education and the University of Wisconsin-Madison found that this is what's weird. Maureen pointed this out. The percentage of books depicting characters from diverse backgrounds is abysmally low. The study found that 10% of books featured African American characters. Let me pull that up here. So that's 10% compared to 12.7. That's not great. They are underrepresented. Not too much though. 2.7% is not gonna, that's not like 50% or something. But yeah, we could do a little better for sure. And I see this as a writer. I try to make diverse list of characters in my books because how I feel is that as a writer, you have the responsibility to reflect the world around you. And the world around you is diverse. So I try the best that I can as a white person without being offensive or speaking for somebody that I should not be to make it more diverse in that way. But this isn't about me. So yeah, 10% of books feature African American characters as opposed to 12.7% existing in America, according to these numbers here, of course. 7% featured Asian Pacific Islander or Asian Pacific American characters. 5% featured Latinx characters. So let's see, Latinx characters here. 7% as opposed to 17.8%. That's 10% lower. That's pretty significant. I agree. Here was an interesting point he brought up. 50% of books feature white characters, while 27% featured animal characters. He said, yeah, kids are exposed to talking animals in literature before they're exposed to black and brown folks. I get where he's coming from. I'm not going for him here. Obviously, there are no gay characters. And that was his words, not mine. That's really bad if I just said that and continued. He was being sarcastic and his frustration at the lack of representation there. And there's a debate there with like people, should there be gay characters in kids' books or not? I'm more for yes personally, but I don't know. That once again, that's not the point of this fucking article. If gay characters should be in kids' books, but what was weird to me is, and the point of hammering in is this is per capita. You know what I mean? Like with him being 3% book reviews for Latino, Latinx, Mexican, as opposed to 17.8%. How many Latinx, Mexican, Latino people are being turned down for these positions? How many people are even applying? How do we know? What is the methodology here? It could be, I don't know. It's just something that I can't shake. Like, awesome if it was like an exact number ratio here, where there was exactly the percent of every division of person represented. Awesome. I don't care. I don't care if it was 93% of book reviews for Latinx. I don't, it doesn't matter to me. I'm not really in that race. I mean, that race is in like that sport, not, I'm not Latinx, so I'm not literally that race, but then it goes on, the idea that SJWs have somehow taken over publishing, which is still a predominantly white straight business, and he's right, it is predominantly white and straight, is preposterous. The idea that those who blah, 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 publishing by and large is still white, which one I provided the evidence on that, he didn't. So he said, I know why some writers are complaining. Here are 3 important issues. Otherness is finally getting a bit of attention, and publishers, agents, and editors are realizing how many amazing narratives are coming from its core. Yeah, I agree. I'd rather read a memoir of someone who had this totally exotic life compared to mine, totally different experiences, fiction and all that. Okay. He's talking about, oh boy, I'm reading this as I go, because a lot of this is just boring stuff. He always does this thing with his writing where like, writers of color are kicking ass, and he always does this thing like, they're badass, and they probably are, but the way he puts it is so cringy. He strikes me as one of those like wolf in sheep's clothing types who are like, I'm totally like a male feminist, but then they're like a predator and a total sexist pig. I'm not saying he is, but the tone he writes is that way, where it's like overcompensating. This is the one that got me though. So he says that writers of color kicking ass. Look at, he lists a bunch of names here, and I don't know any of them. I'm sorry. That's my own fault. I'm sure they are great writers. And he says, the list goes on and on. Publishers and readers alike have noticed. Sorry, white dudes, but your shit can't suck it anymore. First of all, your shit can't suck it? So when you say suck it to somebody, it's usually an insult. He's like, hey, you can suck it. So he's saying your shit can't suck it anymore, which is a good thing, actually. I think that was a typo. That's my only guess here. But what got me about this particular line is, one thing he's promoting the free market. He's saying that people are noticing that other races are excelling at this and white people are not. I don't know. Maybe. You know, not something I follow. But he's right. There are plenty of great writers of different backgrounds. Uh, and it's not just white people. It's not just straight people, of course. But imagine if like a black person was saying this, or a homosexual or something, and you're just like, sorry, but your shit can't suck. Want to get published now? Your work has to be good, is what he says. Like, if you put it in any other context, you're a villain. You're a total jerk. But that's how he talks to people. And he talks about how white straight people are helping publishing and all that. And yeah, instead of writing a last paragraph making fun of those who believe in cancel culture and the SJW takeover in publishing, first of all, there's two things here, actually. The first is you didn't make fun of people who believe in cancel culture other than like your first line. You didn't talk about it. You talked about people who are against diversity, which are two separate ideas. And in the SJW takeover in publishing, I'll copy and paste the last paragraph of my last keynote, and it's some pretentious bullshit. And it's just like the whole thing, and this is what I hate about so many writers and so many things, is that he thinks he nailed it. He crushed them. And the thing is, I'm agreeing with a lot of things he's saying here, obviously. He doesn't make his fucking point. He doesn't talk about why cancel culture is a good thing. He doesn't talk about why it's not real. He doesn't make a point about it. He says nothing about it. He only talks, he constructs a straw man in order to say, well, if you don't like cancel culture, you probably don't like diversity. And that means you're racist. And that's his whole argument from top to bottom. He says nothing about it. I talked more about it in this video than he has. And that is what they do. And by they, I mean, I don't know, assholes, manipulators, the media, writers like Gabino, Iglesias, just dishonest people, academically dishonest debaters, where they don't say why they're right. They don't say why the other people are wrong. What they say is, if you disagree with X, then you must be Y. And then he continues to define this horrible person that would disagree with him. Because if you disagree with him, you must be a horrible person. And you must be this exact type of horrible person. And so he builds a straw man, and then he gives it the middle finger. And it's brave, and it's bold, and it's so badass. And the thing is that he's really robbing people who agree with him, and even people who disagree with him who might agree with him if they heard the right argument of that article. He's really he's just being a dishonest pussy, and I have no respect for it, none at all. And he needs to do better. And the thing with no gatekeepers in writing, and I talk about it too much, and cancel culture, I wouldn't say I don't want to be against it. I don't want to be one of those people, and I'm usually not. I think there's many good instances of saying, we need to get this person out of here. Is sending somebody to prison for murder cancel culture because you canceled them from society? I think there's a lot of strong arguments for cancel culture, but by neglecting to cite any of them, I think Gabino Iglesias did the writing world a disservice. I think that there are gatekeepers in publishing. I think it's him. I think it's asshole, shitty hacks who are afraid to hear any viewpoint other than their own, like Gabino Iglesias. And instead of actually talking to people, instead of being more inclusive, instead of being open and making the writing community a actually positive culture, they want it to be mean girls. They want to be a Heather. And that is how they operate. And they manipulate people and they shame them. And they are cowards and they are fucking disgusting.